Right, let's have a look at exercise 2, also on products, but just involving a little bit more order of work. Right, let's start at example A. We're squaring. Now, as I said in the video, I always write out what I'm squaring. So squaring means multiplying something by itself. Now, as soon as I do that, the whole question is made a hell of a lot easier. Now, this particular example isn't so nice because it's fractions. But as I've said before, write out what you're doing. Remember, you're doing top times top and bottom times bottom. Now, I'm going to try speed up a little bit because I'm going to go top times top is 4 and bottom times bottom is x squared. So that wasn't too bad. Top times top would be 2x and bottom times bottom would be 2x. So I've distributed my first term. Next, top times top, 2x, bottom times bottom, 2x. And lastly, top times top, x squared, bottom times bottom, 4. Now, as soon as I was writing that down, I was thinking, well, some of these can simplify. Now, 4 over x squared can't, but 2x over 2x, well, anything divided by itself is 1. And 2x over 2x, anything divided by itself is 1. And then I've got x squared over 4. So finally, I can simplify to 4 over x squared plus 2 plus x squared over 4. Now, I'm not even going to bother combining those to one denominator because none of that will add anyway. None of those are like terms. So I'm going to leave my answer like that. Right, let's look at B. Now, this is squared, but now I've got a minus and a square bracket, so it seems a bit confusing. So what is this? This is 2a minus 4a plus 3b. And because I'm squaring, I've got another 2a minus 4a plus 3b. Now, when I have brackets and then brackets, I always try to start inside. So I don't start doing my outside brackets. I look at my inside brackets. Now, I see this and I'm thinking, well, this is simple. This is just distribution. So in each of these brackets, I'm going to do my distribution. So I get minus 4a and minus 3b. And that means that this one will be identical, minus 4a and minus 3b. Now again, inside my brackets, before I even multiply, I can see like terms. So 2a minus 4 is minus 2a minus 3b. And the other one will be identical, minus 2a minus 3b. So I always, as soon as I have brackets within brackets, I start in the middle, I start in the inside. Because now I'm down to a binomial times a binomial, so this is quite easy. So there will be positive 4a squared plus 6ab, another plus 6ab, and plus 9b squared. And finally, some like terms. My 4a squared did not have some like terms, but 6ab and another 6ab means there's 12ab's plus 9b squared. So don't get so nervous when you see a bracket within a bracket. Rather just start in the middle and simplify the insides brackets first. Right, let's have a look at C. Now, C is one of those examples which is, it looks bad, but it's not. I have A, and clearly it's being multiplied by a bracket because there's no plus or minus there, and then I'm being multiplied by 3. Now, as I've said before in the other videos, multiplication is commutative, so you can swap it around. So why can't I bring my 3 to the front and say 3 times A, which is 3A, multiplied by A minus B? That's much easier to do, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is simply using the commutativity property of multiplication. So now this is easy. 3A squared minus 3AB. And there are no like terms, so that one is actually a really easy question. Right, on to D. Okay, this one looks quite mean. Immediately I want to divide it into terms because it's not one ginormous multiplication. There's 2 separate terms here, which means I'm going to want to simplify this first term and I'm going to want to simplify the second term. Now, different people will do this differently. Some people multiply this a third into the first bracket and then do the multiplication. Some people do the multiplication of the brackets first and then multiply by a third. It doesn't really matter what order in which you're doing it because you're simply multiplying. Now, I'm going to leave my third outside and I'm going to multiply my binomial times my binomial. So I have 3x times 3x gives me 9x squared plus 18xy. I'm going to run out of space again. Minus 18xy, which immediately lights up cancelling because they're like terms, and minus 36y squared. Now, I can't put an equal sign here unless I carry on with the rest of the sum. So I'm going to ignore that for now. That's the first part, and I'm going to look at the second part. I know it's squaring, which means immediately before going anywhere, all I'm going to do is write the bracket times itself, which means I clearly have something very similar to do still in this second term. Now, focusing on the first term again, I'm going to first collect up like terms. So I've got 9x squared, 18xy minus 18xy. I've already thought of the fact that they're going to cancel, and I've got minus 36y squared. Now, the second term was almost exactly identical in terms of how I'm going to approach it. I've got my quarter, but first I'm going to multiply my binomial times a binomial. So 4x times 4x would be 16x squared plus 48xy plus another 48xy, and finally plus 144y squared. Right, which means I can now multiply in my third, which is distributed my first bracket. If you don't like your fractions, you're more than welcome to use a calculator. There's nothing wrong with you saying a third times 9 on your calculator. I know a third times 9 is 3, but you're welcome to use your calculator. And I know that a third of 36 is negative 12, so minus 12y squared. Use your calculator, please. Now, I'm not going to bother distributing in my quarter first because I have like terms in my bracket. As soon as I wrote it down, I realized that xy's were like terms here. So I have 48xy's plus another 48 is 98xy's plus 144y squared. So now I have got my 3x squared minus 12y squared, and I'm going to multiply in my quarter. Again, use your calculator if you don't like fractions. So a quarter times 16 is 4, so it's 4x squared. A quarter of 98, I would definitely use my calculator for, was 24xy. And a quarter of 144, well, 144 divided by 4, 144 divided by 2 would be 72. And if I divide by 2 again, I would get 36. So 144 divided by 4 is 36y squared. Right, and finally like terms. So 3x squared plus 4x squared are 7x squared minus 12y squared plus 36y squared are 24y squared, and I've got 24xy's. And so I've collected my like terms. So it was quite a nasty question. It was testing your ability to realize that you can multiply your binomial times your binomial first, and then by your fraction. You can distribute your fraction, which is outside. Cool. Right. Let's look at this one. Okay, again, this one looks quite complicated. So immediately I would divide it into different terms. Okay, let's start with our first term. What does our first term look like? Oh, our first term looks like something squared. So he's going to be a binomial times a binomial. Now, this is, the third time we've done it in this exercise. You start to get more and more comfortable. This is minus what? This is minus a binomial times a binomial. So I can multiply those together right now as long as I remember I'm minusing that whole thing, so I need those brackets. So I'm going to start in this term. I'm going to start simplifying. I get 9a squared minus 12a plus 12a, keep on running out of space, and minus 16. Okay, so that's that second term. Now this last term, there's a 2 outside and there's a 3a plus 1 squared. So I'm not going to multiply in the 2 first, because if I multiply in the 2 first and then square it, it means that this squared also applies to the 2, which it doesn't. So I'm going to leave my 2 outside, and I'm just going to write out that that means 3a plus 1 times 3a plus 1. Right, so all of this looks very doable. My first binomial times a binomial will give me 4a squared minus 6a minus 6a plus 9. Now I can multiply in my negative. I have immediately seen, as soon as I've written down minus 12a plus 12a, I know is going to cancel. So actually this becomes minus 9a squared, but those two cancel each other out, and I've got plus 16. Now there's still some work to do on this end bit, so I've got a 2 outside the bracket, and I still need to multiply my binomial by times my binomial. So 9a squared plus 3a plus 3a plus 1. So I still have to collect up like terms at the bottom here and multiply in my 2. Now let's do our like terms so far. I've got 4a squared minus 9a squared. That gives me minus 5a squared. Minus 6a is minus 12a. And 9 plus 16 will be 25. And I've still got plus 18a squared plus 6a plus 6a, those are some like terms, and plus 2. So finally in my last line, my final last terms, negative 5a squared plus 18a squared will give me 13a squared, minus 12a plus 6a. Well, this I know is 12a, so I actually have minus 12a plus 12a. So they disappear. And 25 plus 2 will give me 27. Great. And that's it. Those are all the questions that hopefully you did, and hopefully you've learned from this video. And I hope that you go find past papers and practice your products. The more you practice, the more you start recognizing exactly what you've done before and make it easier and easier.